Okay. Well, sports editor is delighted to chat to Ryan Strudwick, the director of sport at Michaelhouse. And Ryan, really good to have you on the show and talk about sport and more specifically rugby. So thank you for your time.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Cool, man. As a former Sharks coach, and since you obviously in KZN, how do you feel that the season's gone for the franchise?
Yeah, I think the last couple of weeks has been a bit disappointing for them. They were looking good for qualifying for this Rainbow Cup, and then let it slip. I think the game on the weekend would be particularly disappointing because they had serious opportunities. They dropped the ball like 2 or 3 times over the try line in the first 30 minutes, which would have made it a whole new ball game. But yeah, I think also I know they're struggling with discipline side of things, giving away a lot of penalties, which is at that level it's can be really costly. Yeah, but hats off to the Bulls. They stuck to their guns, pressure on, and they came out at the top. But I think the Sharks will be ruining those missed opportunities in the first half because I feel they could have won that game.
Yeah, definitely. But then, from a whole picture perspective, do you feel the Rainbow Cup's been a good addition to the rugby calendar for South Africa?
Yeah, it's been good. Look, yeah, these are tough times we're facing at the moment from a sporting perspective. So, I think just giving them game time is what these boys need. You can't just train for you be out there on the pitch on the weekends. I think also, the teams struggled a bit with the selection of the box. It's always a big debate whether you box or whether you box. I know the Sharks had that debate whether to bring all their box back this past weekend or whether to rest them, and that's been ongoing for the last. It's a challenge for any team. Do you give the youngsters a crack, or do you keep your stalwarts going? But then you always remember they've got an eye on the picture, which is the Lions tour coming up.
Yeah, true. And the Lions tour is going to be brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Can't wait for that one. But let's just touch on as your role as a director of sport at Michaelhouse. Interesting times for you, but how's the journey been so far?
Yeah, look, this is my 4th year. It's been fantastic. Obviously, it changed completely from being just involved in rugby to being involved in all sports. You always tend to your favorite sports, but you got to keep a sort of open mind to all the sports here and give equal opportunity to all the sports here. So. Challenge, but at the same time very rewarding. A lot less pressure than coaching a rugby team, I must admit. Also being in a school environment, a little bit of pressure. But it's going well. We're quite fortunate that we've got fantastic facilities here, and then also we've been fortunate with COVID, being an all boarding. We've been able to sort of put boys in lockdown within the school. And we've been able to do more than I think a lot of other schools have.
Yeah, definitely. It does make a difference that you're all boarding. Sorry, yeah, very, very good. But Ryan, it's interesting to see because you get a learner who comes in and he's a decent sportsman, but by the time he's in matric and whatever team he's representing, whether it be first team rugby, cricket, hockey, whatever it may be, they're really competitive and really good. And I think that just bodes well for the program Michaelhouse has. Maybe you can give us a little bit of insight as to how you turn these guys into such good athletes.
Yeah, look, we're trying to identify talent early on, but it's not a given science. It's quite difficult. You're always going to have hit and miss. But we try and develop what we've got. So that's that. We've got a minimum amount of boys compared to the huge big schools, so we have to develop our talent. So we put a lot of effort to developing what we have got. There's always going to be a time where you have to recruit certain positions for certain sports, but in general we'll take what we've got them and look for their strengths, and put a lot of emphasis on obviously their basic skills, and then obviously the new one now is we're putting a lot of emphasis on their conditioning side.
Yeah, they're very good. Yeah, they're absolutely fit and ready to go and make a difference out in the sports field. You can see it. It's really, really good. But let's just touch on rugby specifically. And it was a really good win for the first side against Kersney. And although you went down to Glenwood, I think it was still a jolly good effort from the squad. But looking at well, how did you feel the season was going to pan out? Just say COVID didn't happen. Obviously quite excited for the season.
Yeah, we had a good squad. I think the sort of pre-season that everybody's had sort of worked in our favor. As I said, we were allowed to, or we were not allowed to, but we could train a little bit harder than our competitive schools. So I think our guys were prepared for a tough season. And we had a lot of competition for positions, which also bodes well at schoolboy level, especially at a small school like we've got. You don't normally have the strength and depth that a lot of these bigger schools have. And I think this year we had a good competitive. Unfortunately, we did pick up a few injuries in the first couple of weeks, which did hamper a little bit of their progress. But I think in general, competitive. They were confident that they could hold their own against all the bigger schools, and I think it proved against Glenwood. They had the opportunities, and Glenwood, their defense was really good. But it would have been an interesting season coming up, but unfortunately, not going to happen.
Yeah, I know it's a tough one, Ryan, and I feel for you because you spoke about pre-season there, and a lot of effort does go into the rugby. Like you said, getting the guys fit, making sure they're physically strong enough to handle the season. So you want to see that reward sort of pay off. And I think it did in some regards when you're looking at what was happening there. Where do you feel your sort of strength lied in the first 15 squad there?
Yeah, it's tough. You always need a good backbone for a squad, and I think they were still working nations. Look, we lost our 9 early on in the preseason, so that was a bit of a hiccup. Then they'd moved to fullback, which was a little bit of an experiment. But the 9-10 combination was really good, and they've come through the junior ranks really well. Fantastic loose forwards, and some quality tight forwards. So the strength was there to give a good foundation from a view, and having a good 9-10 combination was always going to be a threat against any school. Probably their weakness was probably a bit out wide. We probably lacked finishers in the backs. We lost 2 guys who went overseas that would have played first team, 2 wingers. So that was a bit of a hiccup as well. But I think packed to give them a good solid foundation and then a good 9-10 combination to get the backs going.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the most anticipated rivalries would have been the Hilton Michaelhouse fixture. And I'm sure based on the side that you had, you could have, I'm sure you might have felt that you can really get a good result, especially playing at home.
Yeah, look, they've had good results against Hilton through the years from under 14s. I think they just lost in the under 16 age group in the one game, and in the second game, a red card cost them quite dearly. But the boys are confident to play Hilton. Saying that, when you haven't played each other for a year and a bit and haven't seen each other, you don't know what the other schools have got. You don't know how they developed. You don't have all these things become as surprises when you come to schoolboy rugby, because you're not sure what the other teams have got. But it's always a tough contest. At home, you always feel confident that you could win. So I think these guys were keen for a big match. It would have been last weekend, I think it was. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it would have been. But anyway, maybe we can just build up more anticipation next year. Let's say. Let's hope if things go right. But then, Ryan, it's a interesting.
Yeah, we're due to play them we're due to play them in July, so I can't see that happening at the moment.
No.
But it's still on the fixture list. I'm sure this COVID's not going to go away in a hurry, so I'm sure that one's going to be postponed as well.
Yeah, unfortunately. Okay, all right. But then, Ryan, it's a tough one because especially as young people, they want to train and they sort of want to work towards something. They want to work towards that Saturday fixture. That's why they train so hard. But with the fixtures out now, how do you sort of keep the guys going, the players going, and almost keep them interested in rugby? It's a tricky situation. How do you keep the motivation going?
Yeah, It's really tough.
Mm.
We got some correspondence from Sorry this week to say that there could possibly be Craven week in September, October. That little carrot dangling there is enough motivation for some of the boys.
Yeah.
But it's so far away, and there's so much uncertainty. To angle that carrot is quite difficult for some. I think our matric boys, it's probably the hardest. It's quite easy to motivate our and our junior under 16 boys for next year. So we started looking into next year already, and we'll work on sort of the conditioning and off season now for those guys going forward.
Yeah, well, yeah, because that was also going to be a question of mine in terms of, because I also saw that correspondence from Sarah saying, yeah, September, October. But there's also a bit of a tricky time because some guys will be writing exams. How will you manage that though? How do you sort of say to the guys, all right, if you want to pursue rugby, take this seriously, but if you don't want to pursue it, focus on your exams. Where do you sort of draw the line? Because you don't want to push them either, because obviously some of the guys will take the exam seriously.
No, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough, and I'm actually quite surprised if you guys are going to be really struggling balancing act, because there's cricket festivals, there's water polo festivals, there's a basketball festival, hockey, and now they're talking Craven week in Grand Kama. So that's all over one holiday period. So most of our boys play multiple sports. So one, they're going to have to choose, and we're going to have to let them choose. So if a guy wants to focus on his cricket and not his rugby, then we're going to have to let him do that. And then to top it off, you say we've got exams, finals around. At the moment, we sort of talking about just working with under 16As and first team, and letting the rest of the boys. So trying to get just 2 squads together, squads of 30 boys or so, and let them train through if those are going to happen. But at the same time, you don't know if it's going to happen. So to make these boys train for another 2 or 3 months is going to be tough when the possibility of it happening are very slim. I think you'll get a buy-in from the serious rugby players. But to be fair, at a small school like this, you might have 3 or 4 guys who want to. The rest are happy just to play at school and then hang up the boots. Yeah, so it's going to be a tough one to get these guys motivated for something that not ever happen.
Sure. Oh yeah, it's amazing how times have changed, and we just have to be so more flexible and open-minded about these things. Because I mean, who saw this coming? And when they're throwing more things like this, it's just like, wow, okay, yeah, just give us more challenges. It's fine. It's actually quite crazy. Anyway, but do you think that it's going to change the face of rugby, particularly schoolboy rugby, this whole pandemic and things like that now? Is the game going to change even more? Because you've had a lot of time to sort of iron out even more creases and actually pinpoint certain areas and just focus on certain things and get those. You don't always have time to do certain things. Is this going to change the face of rugby, do you feel?
I don't think it will change the way we play. I think we've come away learning quite a bit. I think we have realised that it does help to have a bit of a pre-season now. Normally we get one weekend to rugby the next weekend. This year we had that 4-week mandatory sort of contact period, which made a huge difference. Having that 4-week pre-season was amazing, and we were just saying, if only we could have this every year. That won't happen, obviously, because we go to sport to winter sport in a week. Also, I think, unfortunately for all of us, the expectation from parents is that we're going to be videoing all our games. So that's going to be an expectation from parents, from any spectator, I guess. So they won't have to travel to pick up their phones or pick up their laptops and be able to watch it. So that comes with an added challenge and an added expense. But from a rugby playing point of view, too much. I don't think the rules won't change. The way we play our games not going to change. But it would be nice if we could get more preparation.
Definitely. Well, yeah, Ryan, it's an interesting time. It's a challenging time, but I mean, that's why you're at the helm, because I'm sure you'll sort it all out and keep things going, which is good. But yeah, Ryan, as we sort of draw towards an end, it's a really interesting time for rugby as a whole. And I know you a Sharks man, although you spent a lot of your career over in England. How do you sort of see the Currie Cup season unfolding?
Yeah, I think it is going to be challenging for the Sharks boys. Obviously, they're going to lose quite a few bucks, but generally in this time, they have a lot of depth, and the youngsters always put their hands up. I was actually chatting to their physio the other day, saying that when this opportunity arises for the youngsters, the Sharks always do well. They always do well when they thinned out from the box. And I don't see any different. I think the squad they've got there, you look at how they played 2 weeks ago, they've got some great, exciting players coming through. Yeah. And I think they'll be competing at the end. I really do. It's going to be tough, and it's going to be a hectic schedule. But let's hope they can stay injury-free. I know there's a lot of luck involved because the injury count does hamper you. And obviously the COVID is going to play a massive part. A third wave hitting us now, it could quite easily affect the rugby players as well, and it does. So you could lose points when you need them. Maybe just pick up 2 points instead of 4 or 5. So that could hamper you as well if you're playing a game that you should easily win and then you only get 2 points out of it. There'll be a lot of luck involved as well.
Okay, it's going to be interesting to see. And then lastly, Ryan, your prediction on the British and Irish Lions tour. Who's winning it? South Africa 2-1, 3-0? Are the Lions going to win it? What's your take?
Yeah, look, it's going to be close. Are always strong. I worry that we haven't played enough rugby. I think that's probably the biggest concern. National rugby since the World Cup final. That's probably the major one. I know our guys have been playing club and competitive rugby, but we haven't played as a team yet. It would be nice if the Boks could get 2 or 3, maybe 4 games under the belt before they have to play them. I worry about our warm-up games if they're going to be competitive enough. The British Lions, Irish Lions are strong. They will come here expecting to win, I think. I know the pundits are all saying we're going to win easy, but I think it's going to be I really do. I'd like to think we'll take it 2-1. It would be nice if we take it 3-0, but I think it's going to be close.
Yeah, I agree with you. To me, close. Just watching the build-up between the two camps is always interesting to see those little differences there. But yeah, I think the Lions are in a very good headspace at the moment. I think mentally they fired up. They're ready to go. So let's see what happens. But Ryan, I wish I could wish you well for the remaining rugby fixtures, but unfortunately, I don't think they're going to happen, sadly. But in other regards, do wish you well for your time at Michaelhouse. Hope you guys keep going from strength to strength. And man, as soon as sport's back up, we'll be watching you guys and supporting. So all the best, stay strong, and thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, anytime.
All the best, Ryan.
It's cool.
Have a lekker holiday.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.